Hello. Welcome. So today I get so excited for these. I didn't used to do them free necessarily. They were always part of my paid programs, but I love doing these Akashic transmissions. I am always kind of in awe and filled with so much beauty and love when I bring these transmissions through. So they're fun to gift and to see what is going to come through. So we'll see. Solstice is a really big time. I know there's a lot going on right now. I'll give it a few minutes here and then I'm going to open up to the Akashic field. And so let's see. I need a few people to join for this to work. There's got to be just a little bit of energy around this. So we'll see. We'll see. So as I'm waiting, I'm going to use sunflower flower essence. I love working with flower essences. I'm going to do a drop of sunflower and sip on that. Because as we know, well, here in the northern hemisphere anyways, summer solstice represents the time where the days are the longest. So it's like the sun is really holding this beautiful, almost like standing and holding this beautiful radiant pause as we pass through the portal of the solstice. I'm just going to put that down a little bit. And so I wanted to, so this is a time of celebration for one, right? Looking at everything that we've manifested, that we've created, everything that's about to come into full bloom from winter dream time. So I love to build my business and create and manifest in the flow of the seasons. It's been a big piece that's really allowed me to anchor into sustainability. And here we are. So in the winter, I'm busy really opening up to visioning and dreaming and really getting the clarity of what I'm being called to bring through for the next year. So maybe you can totally relate to that. Like, what was going on for you around December or January? What were you starting to sense or feel or dream into in terms of what you were being called to bring through? So what were you seeing? What were you feeling? What were you seeing? What were you sensing? And where are you starting to see that starting to bloom or manifest in your life? So this is a time where you can be excited, where you can start to really open up and receive the bounty and the beauty of the universe, and where you can really start to receive your desires, right? So it's that time of opening up, of pleasure, of joy, of celebration, right? We've planted the seeds, we're starting to bring it through. And you'll probably see more of that as you move into the summer season. So here we are again in that beautiful solstice energy. So I still don't see anyone jumping on, and I will give it just another minute or two. Oh, here's someone. Perfect. So welcome. We have a few new faces in the Facebook group too, so welcome, welcome. I'm not sure who's on, but don't say hi. Let me know who's here. And I'm going to open up to the Akashic field, and I was just talking a little bit about summer solstice, but I'm going to open up to the Akashic field and bring through a message for the group. And I was just saying, it's so nice when there's a few people that can hop on live. There's just more energy to play in. And before we do that, I'm actually going to, just felt playful in this solstice energy, to bring through do a flower card reading. So I'm just going to pick one card, and we'll see what comes through for the collective in this space. So if you're new to the group, again, welcome. And whoever's on, introduce yourself. I cannot see anything. All right, so I'm going to just tune in here pulling a flower card for the feminine the leaders of the new feminine paradigm. I'm going to pull a card for this solstice reading. Oh, beautiful. Okay, cool. So first of all, it's very solstice-y looking. It's really radiant, very tall. And you know, hey Monica, welcome. So the first thing that I start to pick up as I read this call is about taking up space in the world. I'll share a little bit too about like what the actual like card meaning is, but I will start to read the energy right away. So when I tap into this, this is all about taking up bigger space in the world, which really is like summer solstice too, right? If we think about everything that's coming into full bloom, if we think about feminine essence, right? If we think about being in our full body beauty and magnetism, it's about allowing ourselves to bloom and take up space in our radiance, in our beauty, in our power, right? So there's that invitation to stand up tall and to take up space. There's another meaning though to this card, and this is actually all about new beginnings. And I'm already hearing the messages around if it's been especially moving through the eclipses and the new moon and the full moon, if it's been rocky or challenging, this is that time where again we're going to start to see like the fruition of new beginnings. The actual card of this is about, it's kind of like the phoenix rising. It's about everything old that has been burnt away through this eclipse season and anchoring into and welcoming new beginnings. So that's this card. There's this opportunity is to rise from the ashes more stronger and more determined than ever before. But it's ushering in, it's heralding in new beginnings and this taking up even more radiant space with our power, with our beauty, with our magnetism, and with our truth. Let's dive into the Akashic field and see what else wants to come through for the collective. So I've got a very body-based approach to working with the Akashic records. So I teach the Akashic records, and this is the method that I use. So I'll just guide you through a very short meditation and visualization, and I'll open up to the Akashic field there. And I just start to let the field talk. I just start to let the field communicate with me, and then I'll bring through those messages. All right. So let's go ahead in this gorgeous solstice energy. These got the solar masculine and the solar feminine. And we'll just start to see those energies start to kind of like move together as one. Move together as one within us. And as those energies start to move together as one, you can just start to see it just gently sweep out and release, cleansing, clearing any old energy. Anything that feels outdated, anything that feels heavy, we're just going to start to see that energy all transmute and clear. And then moving that energy up and out through the top of the head. And as we do that, we're going to let our body weight drop just a little bit. Actually, and I'm seeing like a field of daffodils. So I don't know if you like yellow daffodils. So you can go ahead and see yourself sitting in a field of yellow daffodils. And just letting your body weight anchor and drop. Allowing yourself to feel held by the beauty of Mother Earth. Taking a breath in through the nose, down into the energetic womb space, and out through the mouth. And we'll do that breath 2 more times, bringing it to the count of 3. I'm going to go ahead and call the temples of divine love, light, truth, abundance, wisdom, and power to descend, grow, expand, and drop down around us, asking this to be a divinely protected space where only the highest frequencies of love and light shall exist in and out of, banishing all negative influences should there be any. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and bring our focus down to the heart space, seeing a magenta rose bloom open. And from there, allowing the golden grid of the flower of life begin to expand and swirl out from the heart space, located at the center of the chest. And we're going to let that pure wisdom and high frequency light, the radiant divine substance of all of creation that's interwoven into all of life, begin to permeate and infuse itself within us, out from us, and all around us into the Akashic field. And then we're going to let that light continue to grow, expand, and interpermeate with the physical and non-physical reality that exists before us, all around us, and within us. And then we're going to let that radiant divine substance of all of life that flows through all things, we're going to continue to let it flower and expand from the heart chakra, but now we're just going to see, sense, feel as the doors to the Akasha and all the light, love, and wisdom of the Akasha open to us now. And then when you're ready, you're just making your way back to the present moment. I am already, and I kind of chuckled because I was already picking up messages in the field. And the first thing that I saw, so I know that I work with a woman who absolutely loves dragons, and she's very connected to the dragon realm. But the first thing that I saw was a dragon come into the field. And there's something about size that's really coming through, even with the card that was pulled. But the dragon has a very large size, and the thing that I'm actually really picking up from him too is the thunder of his stomp, and the enormity of his size, and the enormity of his power, and the invitation, and we'll see what else dragon has to say, but the invitation to get really comfortable with how our powerful presence, right? So allowing ourselves to be bigger, to occupy more space, to occupy our bodies even more fully, but be willing to make people uncomfortable. And it's not that we want to intentionally make people uncomfortable, but not to so much always attach to how our size and our energy and our truth and our power and our beauty impacts or affects others. So dragon's messages, and actually the dragon, he's kind of funny. The dragon is actually showing me, he's like stomping his foot. Like, don't be afraid to make noise with your truth. Right? So I often will attract a lot of women who have done a lot of work on themselves on this path, right? So channels are nice and open. We've done a ton of healing work. We know what our truth is. We know, what it is that we're here to, how we're here to lead and inspire. And this is Dragon's invitation, and I'm just getting this like stomping of like, don't be afraid to make some noise. Don't be afraid to make some noise though, like in your family unit, in your relationships, like online, in your business. Because what it's doing too is it's actually like this thomping, this getting comfortable taking up more space with your truth and fully occupying it, even when it makes others comfortable. It's actually clearing out the residue of the old. And again, like bringing it back to this card of like new beginnings and rising from the ashes. And this thing with the size, like I just got this sense of like, don't be afraid to take up space. And look how awkward that flower is. Like it's kind of like, it looks like a loofah sponge. Like it's like not like a typical looking flower either, right? It's different looking. And yet she's still really taking up space and standing very, very tall. So there's this something about this stomping and how it is simultaneously creating the space for the bigness of who we are, and at the same time like dissolving or disintegrating the old. And the message is that this is a really important choice point. I can totally relate to this. I've been feeling through some of this too. This is as I rebrand, and actually the new site goes live today, but it really is that sometimes these points of being like, this is what I'm choosing now. This is what I'm choosing to create. And that's the message, is that it's a really pivotal and important choice point for a lot of us. And there's so much power now in that we get to choose. And the other message is, these group messages are so fun because I was always so curious to see how it resonates, is that we've done all the thinking and feeling through and mulling over like where we want to create change, or what we're being guided to step into next, or who we're being guided to call, or who we're being called to be next. And at some point we just have to choose it. Like, that's enough, we just choose it. It's like kind of a similar message that as what came through during the new moon. Oops, but a little bit different. Oh, I hope I didn't do anything. Okay, so all of a sudden now I'm seeing, it's a totally different visual scene. And the thing that I'm seeing now from the Akashic field and the guides is I'm underwater and there's fish. And there's like a lot of fish. Oh, and there's like schools of fish. And the invitation is there's a few of us, or maybe a lot of us, where we're sitting on the sidelines and like seeing these schools of fish, and we're like watching the fish go by, but we're like not actually like jumping in and like swimming with the fish. We're like sitting on the sidelines, like and watching the world go by. And there's this sense of like busy action, but it's not necessarily the action that is putting us out there the way we need to be putting ourselves out there right now. And especially if, you know, you're really uncovering and starting to claim your big dreams, your big vision. This is that time to start putting yourself out there, and not just being the bystander of your dreams. And I don't think any of us intentionally are being the bystander of our dreams, but it's like, how can we be more in? That's the invitation. How can you be more in? How can you be more in? I'm just going to take another sip of water. All right. Let me tune in and see where else this goes. Yes. Okay. Well, the other message is, and as I'm watching this fish, I'm also seeing a mermaid. And the mermaid is representing like flow and pleasure and play. And I think sometimes it's like where... Yeah, you know what? There's two schools. There's like the hard work school, and it's kind of like, it's like the hard work. We're kind of like stuck in one timeline. So there's the hard and the pushing and the like, oh, I really want that, but we haven't necessarily chosen it. And then there's like the timeline of being able to like be all in. This seems like a really pivotal, beautiful point for choice. To be all in on like the timeline, right? On like the path that we say that we want. So it's like being in the flow, being all in on our dreams, and then allowing ourselves to use like pleasure and play along the way to like make it really light, right? To make it really light. And I think sometimes what happens when we are desiring something, or we want something, or we're being called into something different, we still have this sense that it has to be hard, or that it will be hard, or that it's like there's fear that kicks up. And when fear kicks up too, we can get really attached, and it closes down flow, of course, right? And then we're not as easily able to take the steps that just feel good in our body, that just feel natural, that just feel right. So the message that's really coming through, actually, as I'm talking and channeling it through, is it's about alignment through choice, through decision. Again, similar message is what came through. So there's still pieces of the bigger vision that we're starting to anchor into that need this attention. But also knowing that if we're stuck in a little bit of fear and we're not feeling fluidity and we're not feeling movement, that oftentimes we just want to like think like the mermaid, or like embody some mermaid essence, right? Which is like pleasure and playfulness and that watery flow, right? And being in our beauty and being in our sensuality. I love this. This is a lot of like what I teach and how I believe in the new paradigm that we do business as women, right? But when we introduce pleasure and play, it's actually it soothes the edge of fear, and it starts to shift us into a totally different vibrational state where we can start to move with way less apprehension. And the reason being is that fear can sometimes, it controls it, and then it shuts down the flow, and it shuts down impulse to move forward for more of a space of love. So the invitation, there's that beautiful mermaid essence or energy coming through, and that is it. It's to where can we introduce, and especially in the solstice, and especially today, where can we integrate more pleasure, more play, right? It is such a magical tonic for being able to shift vibrational states, and it really is activating to the feminine, who can then let go, because sometimes it's like it's a little bit of like our masculine tendencies will hold on when we're preparing to take a leap or make a jump or decide that it's time to actually claim what we say that we want. So here in this solstice portal, right, the invitation that I'm picking up, that I'm sensing too, is about like allowing, especially on the sacred feminine path, right? It's like, it's allowing pleasure to be a compass, right? This is so beautiful, but it's like, and I can see how it ties in with everything, which is why these are always so fun, but it's like allowing pleasure to be your compass. It's like allowing pleasure to be our compass, and knowing and trusting that pleasure can actually, and actually the piece too is that sometimes the thing that we're wanting, it's actually the old way of doing. It can't possibly get us into alignment with the new vibrational state of our desired outcome. So play and pleasure are the new ways, right? That's the invitation. It's like knowing and trusting that pleasure can actually lead you to the desired outcome. That it doesn't necessarily have to be hard work or push or hustle, which is programming that a lot of us are untangling, and a big piece that I work on through my work as well with women. So the invitation is pleasure or play. So let me tune into the last little bit of how this wants to come through to support you. And I'm seeing the mermaid on an oasis. Oh, this is so interesting. Yeah, she's on an oasis, and it's a very, very small island. The water's close, and there's palm trees, and she's in her element. She's really in this space of beauty and receiving and pleasure. But there's something about her being on land and having the water so close, and that actually mermaids typically, right, like they can only be out of water so long, or they can't be out of water at all. But there's something about her and her message and the communication that she's making that is speaking to me about being adaptable. So we have a few more people jumping on. So we're just kind of wrapping up the 30-minute Akashic solstice transmission. So it's about being adaptable. Let me tune into that message. And actually her message right now is about seeing, so there's about being adaptable, about being able to navigate two worlds, and then also about seeing her own beauty, seeing our own beauty, and celebrating our own beauty. And this ties in so beautifully with the solstice energy, really. And at the very beginning I was talking about, solstice being that invitation, especially for the sacred feminine, right? About being in the fullness, the full-bodied beauty of who we are, being in our magnetism, allowing ourselves to drop in and celebrate our own radiance, just like the fully bloomed flowers right now that we see everywhere. It's that invitation to hold the mirror up to the beauty that we are, right? That's the nature of the feminine essence, is she holds that I woke up today and I was like, I really like my face. Yay! Yeah, that's it. She's got like a mirror, and like mermaid medicine, of course, is like really powerful like that. But like, so that's kind of like that really beautiful. So there's so many messages today, which is like, I love it, is so much around pleasure and play and magnetism and flow, and then like being in our beauty, which is like the birthright of every woman. It's such powerful medicine in that we can know that that's the nature of the feminine, is beauty, right? There's like, she just is this beautiful, like radiant essence that dwells within all of us, just like Mother Nature. When we look into Mother Nature, she holds that vibration of beauty, right? That exists within. So in the fullness of this solstice, there's this beautiful invitation to really just pause in the scope of our world, especially if we're busy or if we tend to lean into some of the hyper masculine. We can disconnect from the pauses, right, of connecting in to really see our own radiance and to celebrate our own beauty. But these are really important pieces because it's an intrinsic part of who we are. And if we're busy putting out, looking out, doing, pushing, doing all the things, and we're not just taking a moment to celebrate and drop into and connect to the radiant beauty that exists within, we forget. We forget. And it's like a very vital, creative, nourishing energy that is like a part of who we are as humans. And taking a moment, and I'm just going to say, if you have a mirror, great. But I would actually, just give me one moment here. I'll just see what the field has to say about this. Yeah, it's like, I'm actually getting like this like message to either visualize a flower, like any flower that like comes to mind, or just notice what flower when you're out and about today really gets your attention, and then take a moment and attune to the energy of the flower. And that can just be like by rubbing your hands together and just gently placing it around the field of the flower, or just spending some time with the flower and just asking and tuning in to like the beauty and the radiance of the flower. She's not even doing anything. She's just being, right? That like, you have access to that too. But asking the question of, how is her beauty like my beauty? How is her beauty like my beauty? And actually just like listening for like the intuitive wisdom, like the gift of the flower and how it actually relates to your unique beauty. Right? That could be a very, very beautiful mirror and a powerful reflection, and just an opportunity to celebrate and connect to your beauty in this gorgeous summer solstice energy. All right, so I jumped on at 12. This is a 30-minute call, and give me 1 second here, and I'm just going to tune in and see if there's any last words. This is really good. I love how there was like, Cynthia, the dragons came through at the very beginning. We just kind of traveled all over with a lot of magic in today's Akashic transmission. Yeah, okay, the final message is really just around receiving. It's around receiving. So this is really around this session today is so much around like the whole frequency of the feminine. And let's tune in around this receiving. This message is around receiving. There's lots of different ways to shift us into like the energetic state of like receiving, and sometimes that's through like self-love or pleasure. But the invitation actually is like, where can we allow ourselves to receive? And that's like actually from like, it could be from an environment. So it like could be from like a beautiful environment, could be from nature, but it could be like actually having someone like serve us in terms of like, I don't know, it could be like getting like a session from a sister. It could be like having someone prepare a nice meal for us. It could be like going out for a meal. It could be going for a pedicure. It could be getting a haircut, getting a massage. It's like where the energy is actually being like reciprocated. Like there's an energy coming like back to us. So that's the final message, is about weaving in something over the next couple of days. And this is like all about like boosting the feminine attraction frequency, like really building your magnetism and anchoring into some of the feminine superpowers. Right? When we do this, when we start to shift our energetic state back into that place, that's where we start to manifest with a lot more ease. That's where we start to manifest with a lot more ease. So I'm going to leave you with that. And then also, I'm just going to let everyone know I'm celebrating today is the launch of my new website, tarapreston.com. So if you have a minute or two today, go over to tarapreston.com and just check it out. It's been a little bit of a labor of love over the last few months, and she's here. She's finally here. So go over and check her out. Let me know what you think. And otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and close out of the field, and I'm going to thank the guides, guardians, masters, angels, teachers who have been present in the field today. I'm going to thank them. And then I just keep getting these messages. And then I just want to say that any of the clarity, any of the healing, any of the activations, intentions, it's all going to unfold into completion, and the door between the worlds is now closed. And so it is. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Monica, and I'll see you all soon.